Happy Wednesday morning, everybody. Welcome into Morning JOX. Conrad Van Order and Damian Mitchell here with you as we are now one day closer to the first round of the college football playoff. I know Friday can't get here fast enough for many of you, myself included, as we await whether you're an Oklahoma fan, an Alabama fan, or just a college football fan, and you're just ready for this postseason action to get underway. Nonetheless, we are getting closer and closer. We've got bowl season going on. We've got college basketball in full swing as well. So a lot to get on and get into here today on this edition of the program. This will be a fun day. This will be the only day this week that Damien and I will be doing the show together because it is the holiday season, and that is how things like to work. So appreciate Damien holding down the fort for the last couple of days, and I'll hold down the fort for the next couple of days while he's gone. And then we will be back together at some point in time.
Yeah, we'll see what the end of the year and also beginning of the year looks like. But no, we're taking some vacation time here these next couple of days, and yeah, it's interesting. The past couple of days, you kind of reading the room a little bit of just kind of where the pulse of a lot of these fan bases are. I think a lot of Alabama fans are really just ready to get to Friday because there's been good conversations about the first time, at least the first time that you played Oklahoma, outside of the turnovers, it wasn't like Oklahoma stopped you. So there's a little bit of hope on both sides. Of course, we got to hear from Kalen DeBoer and Ty Simpson throughout the week of just where their mindset is. I mean, Ty Simpson said it best. It's, what does this 2025 team want to be remembered for? You know exactly what's at stake. You don't have to, have paralysis by analysis at this point. You know exactly what's at stake. You survive and advance. It's the tournament. It's the playoffs. You win. You find a way to win. You continue. If you don't, you'll be back at the house. So I think that the mindset for this Alabama team has been kind of locked in. Like they know what's at stake, and they know that it probably was by the skin of their teeth that they got in this situation. But they're in this situation. Now let's go see what Friday has to offer.
And last night we got the highly anticipated injury report for that game on Friday. And so we'll dive into that here in just a moment and tell you who's healthy, who's not, and what that might mean for both Alabama and Oklahoma in the game on Friday. And we'll spend a lot of time going through that and some of these other playoff matchups here throughout the show today. But before we dive in to this Alabama-Oklahoma game and everything going on around the college football playoff, I did want to take a moment because, Damien, I know that y'all, on the shows yesterday talked about it, but I did want to just take a moment this morning and say that our thoughts and prayers are with the family of Christina Chambers, the former Fox 6 sports reporter. I know a lot of you are familiar with. I know she was ingrained and did a lot of things around the Thompson community the last few years as well, and just a heartbreaking story yesterday. And I know that you knew her personally, Damien. I sadly did not have the opportunity to get to know her personally, but had heard many wonderful stories about her and the impact she made in the community. And that's just a really, really sad and unfortunate story from yesterday. And just wanted to know that our thoughts and prayers are there with her family. And I know it was a very hard day yesterday for a lot of people around Birmingham and the state.
Yeah. There's just no way else to put it, man. It's a sad day. It's a tragic loss for a soul that was just so pure. I've worked closely with Christina, especially this past season, doing the Sanford broadcast, and she was my sideline reporter. Like, this is the first time in my life that I've lost just like a colleague, and it was just such an uneasy feeling. As the news started to come out yesterday, and it's tough because I just saw her 2 weeks ago at the state championship game. Saw her on the sidelines. We're just sitting there chopping it up, reviewing over the Sanford season. We're just trying to figure out because they hadn't announced John Gross as the head coach just yet. So we were still just trying to figure out who the head coach was going to be, and it just doesn't. You never think that's going to be your last conversation. You never do. And she was a pillar in this community. She was an avid runner. Whenever we would hop on our Zoom calls with the coaches, I would joke and say, you know, how many miles did you run today? And she would say something outlandish, like 8-9 miles. And it's like, it's the first thing in the morning. I was like, you don't do coffee? She's like, I don't need coffee when I'm out there running. You get that runner's high and you just keep it going. And I mean, she was an avid Lil Wayne fan, so we always joked about that. And she was just diligent in her job. And anybody that ever came in contact with her, you felt the energy. Like, she was just down to earth, sweet woman. And it's just brutal. It's brutal. It's a tough, heartbreaking loss, especially leaving a 3-year-old son behind, and just everything that's going with it. I know it's going to be some trying times, but you know, especially during this holiday season, you know, don't leave any "I love yous" out there. Make sure you let the people close to you know that you love them, and you just never know. But you know, prayers up to her family and everybody that's dealing with this situation.
Couldn't have said it better any better myself there, Damien. So yeah, not the way you ever want to have to start a radio show, but you know, that's, I know something that, you know, a lot of people in our community were hurting from that yesterday, and will be hurting for a while. And you know, our thoughts and prayers go out to all of them. And again, just awful that you even have to talk about something like that, but that's unfortunately the world that we live in. So thoughts and prayers to Christina Chambers and her family. But let's get into a little bit of the college football conversation now, because I told you just a moment ago that maybe the most anticipated injury report that you were going to have for Alabama all year long was going to be the one leading into this game on Friday, because obviously injuries played such a huge role in the SEC championship game. And we know, if you've listened to anything from the coaching staff over the last few weeks, there's a lot of guys that are, I mean, still playing for Alabama. Parker Brailsford is probably the one that comes to mind the most in terms of people that have been, I mean, openly have acknowledged that they're hurt, but they're playing through it and just, you know, trying to be out there to put the best effort forward for the team. And so how many of those guys are going to be healthier? But just based on what the injury report's telling you, the good news is right off the bat, Jam Miller, not on the injury report. So that tells you that he's going to be good to go. Cam Dewberry, he's also not on the injury report, so that's good there in terms of some offensive line depth. LT Overton, he is out. He has officially been ruled out. You know, again, based on what I understand of that situation, I don't. It doesn't seem to me like he's, even if Alabama were to go on a little bit of a run here and be alive for the next few weeks, I don't think that LT Overton is going to be able to play the rest of the season unless something changes. And I hope that's not the case, but I would just kind of go ahead and accept that. You've probably seen your last LT Overton football at the University of Alabama, sad to say. But Josh Cuevas, he is listed as questionable. And I know Ryan Grubb spoke to the media yesterday and, you know, was saying, oh, it's good to have Cuevas back out here. And, you know, he's not at 100%, but the belief is that he's going to be able to try, or at least try to give it a go the next couple of days at practice and walkthroughs and stuff as they get ready for the game on Friday. We know that's a huge get there if Cuevas is able to go, even if he's not at 100%. But if that's a guy that's at 75 or 80%, throw him out there.
His impact will be felt.
Absolutely. I mean, the best game he had all year was the Oklahoma game the first time around, so you definitely don't want to miss him. Danny Lewis, another tight end, he's also back on the injury report. He's been, I mean, he's basically been on there just about every week, it feels like, at this point. But I know some people that I was talking to were, oh, Kevin Riley, he's going to be back, right? We'll have some more depth at running back along with Jam. No, he's still listed as out, and then everybody else that you would expect at this point, Jeremiah Beeman, Jamarian Latham, Drake Kirkpatrick, those guys, they're still out. They're not going to be available for Friday. But the good news, again, if you're Alabama, Jam Miller not on the injury report, Cam Dewberry not on the injury report, Josh Cuevas is listed as questionable. So we'll see how that progresses over the next couple of days. And then over on the Oklahoma side, nothing big there. But I guess the biggest thing for them is that on their end, R. Mason Thomas not listed on the injury report. He missed the first matchup with Alabama. He had been dinged up really the last month or so of the season for Oklahoma, but he's not on there, so he should be good to go. And he's one of the best defensive players in the entire conference. He is, and I mean, Oklahoma has one of probably the 4 or 5 best defenses in college football this year, and he is the best player on that defense. So that's a big get for the Sooners, and that is a big challenge that Alabama didn't have to deal with the first time that they're now going to have to deal with on Friday. So I know that was A lot of anticipation on what's going on with the injury report. I know I talked about Parker Brailsford. Seems like he's getting better and better, and he's closer to 100% now and going to be good to go. I know there's been a lot of buzz and a lot of people asking questions about Ty Simpson. I know he spoke to the media and said that he feels great. And again, like he said, for every, just thankful for the opportunity, ready to go. Like, all right. Okay.
All right, it's here now.
All right, big dog. Like, I get you. Look, I get it. He's not going to come out and say that he's hurt. Very clearly, he has not been 100% for a while now. I think we can all see that with our own two eyes that that's the case. So hopefully he's had a chance to get better, rest up over the last couple of weeks, and we see a refreshed Ty Simpson out there on the field on Friday. But that's the big injury news there for Alabama, as Jam Miller is good to go. Josh Cuevas getting closer and closer to that point, so we'll see if Alabama's back at full strength, or I mean, as close to full strength as anyone can be at this point in the season come Friday. So that's certainly some exciting news there. But how about some other exciting news? And it has to do with a addition to the Alabama coaching staff that will a familiar face, a familiar name now in the state of Alabama, as it was kind of surprising, but it was announced yesterday that Alabama and Jamarcus Shepard, since he's going to Oregon State to be the new head coach there for the Beavers, Alabama, they need a new wide receivers coach, Damian. So where do they look?
You know exactly where they went, Conrad.
They went, man, that school in the state, man, they had one of the best on paper, one of the best receiving corps in college football. I mean, we were talking about how they might be, out besides Ohio State, the best in the country coming into the year. And I think from a talent perspective, no one would doubt that they had one of the most talented rooms. It just maybe didn't pan out the way that you thought. But Derek Nix, the offensive coordinator at Auburn, he is now going to be the new wide receivers coach at the University of Alabama next season.
So Kalen DeBoer does got it in him. He got a little something. So I was like, oh, hey, Coach Nix, I know that first and second down was yours. When you were play calling there on the Plains,
we just need you to coach the receivers.
We just need you to get these guys right. We'll take the pressure off of you. We have a play caller already installed. But hey, if you can get our receiving core right, the job is yours.
I thought it was funny because, when Kalen DeBoer met with the media on, I guess it was Monday, and, I know he had made a joke in there like, yeah, sorry, I'm a little short of breath because I've been working with wide receivers. I like to think that he's out there like busting his tail a little bit. He's like, man, I got to go hire me another one of these receivers coaches. I can't be out here doing this.
I ain't got it like I used to.
I can't do this every day. But yeah, so that's a little bit of a surprise there maybe. But Derek Nix, the I guess you would say former Auburn offensive coordinator, now going to be the new wide receivers coach at Alabama. Of course, before Auburn, he was with Lane Kiffin at Ole Miss, so he knows the conference well. And we'll be very interested to see how he does at that position moving forward for the Crimson Tide, and who he will be coaching at that position. I think will be certainly a topic of conversation once the offseason begins for Alabama. But we do have some transfer portal news as well. We have bowl games going on. We had a bowl game last night, 2 teams here in the state. We'll tell you how it all went down, just some of the headlines from around the college football world before we get back to our college football playoff preview. That's all right here on Morning JOX. Welcome back into Morning Jocks here on your Wednesday morning. Conrad and Damian here with you for the only time this week, as Damian will be out tomorrow and Friday. John Saber will be with me, just as he was with Damian the past couple of days. And that's how we will put the show together for you this week around the holiday season, as everybody trying to get in and see family and get rid of or take care of all of their holiday duties and all of those wonderful things around this time of year. But we appreciate you tuning into us each and every morning here on JOX. You can chime into the show, 205-834-9450, if you want to get yourself on the Courtesy GMC text line. Weigh in with your thoughts on what's going on as we get closer to the college football playoff, coaching carousel, transfer portal, all that good stuff. So much going on in college football, and that's why we love it, right? It never ends year-round anymore. But last night, we have to give a shout out to Jacksonville State, as they are winners of the Salute to Veterans Bowl, as they took on an in-state foe in the Troy Trojans down there in Montgomery. And JSU, they pull off the 17-13 victory last night. They're able to score go-ahead touchdown in the fourth quarter and hang on from there. But this was actually a pretty interesting game. If you were able to watch it last night, and I'm sure many of you were, because it was the only college football game that was going on. But, Jacksonville State, they start off their first drive, boom, 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 down the field. They score. Things are looking good for them defensively. Troy just really couldn't do anything on offense to get things going. And then late in the first quarter, you try to pull out the flea flicker when you're at your own, 15-yard line. And it backfires, and that's kind of what kept Troy in the game early on. It felt like they were able to force a fumble, fall on it in the end zone, so they get a defensive score early on when JSU really had all the momentum. That makes it 7-7. Troy's able to kick a couple of field goals before halftime, so they go up 13-7 at halftime, actually. And it really felt like, again, all the momentum had gone to Troy. JSU couldn't move the football, but then all they do is go out and shut out Troy in the second half. And then Jacksonville State, as I mentioned, they score in the fourth quarter, the go-ahead score to go up 17-13. And I'll say this, if you watched till the very end, Troy had a chance on that Hail Mary at the end.
Yeah, right.
It went off. It got deflected in the end zone. Then it went off a Troy receiver's hands, it looked like. And it's just one of those tip drill kind of plays where you're not expecting the ball to come to you, and then it does. And that's all she wrote. So shout out to JSU, though. They finished the year 9-5. They get a nice and shiny bowl win. Again, you watch JSU play, and it's like, oh, yeah, they've only been an FBS program for a couple of years now, and it's kind of hard to remember that sometimes, because the success that you saw them have at the FCS level, they pretty much picked up and continued on with that here at the FBS level. So very cool to see. Troy, they finished the year now 8-6, JSU 9-5, and they are the Salute to Veterans Bowl champions.
And I like the fact that, one, it's a rivalry game. We kept everything in Alabama. Like, the game was played in Alabama. Yeah. Two schools from Alabama played against each other. And it has some juice to it. You can't say that this bowl game didn't have any meaning, because you saw it get a little chippy at times.
Oh, yeah.
Like, they were jawing back and forth. It's okay, we still got it. You can't tell me that the passion isn't still there, no matter what, because, again, it's a team – right, not too far away from us, and then Troy going up to Montgomery, not too far away from Montgomery. Like, it was what you want bowl games to be. Like, there was some passion involved. Two teams that have a lot of respect for each other, hadn't played in a long time, but that's a game I'm kind of looking at. Man, you can find a way to schedule this year to year. This could be a rivalry that could last for a while, especially all eyes on both teams. Like, all eyes in the state of Alabama for us, and if you have a home series with this, like, I would love to see this game being brought back on a consistent basis.
I agree with you 100%. So it was an entertaining game last night. JSU, though, again, they get the victory, and impressive, because they did it without probably their best player in Cam Cook, who I was talking to somebody a couple of days ago and just went, I know this is like a random, trivia question that, you're not going to know the answer. You're going to feel like I'm making you, look dumb on purpose. But I was like, any idea who leads the country in rushing this year in college football? And it's like, oh, yeah, it's Ahmad Hardy, right? And it's like, no, it's actually Cam Cook at Jacksonville State. Like,
I didn't even know that.
Yeah, I was about to say, I think there's a lot of people that don't realize that, like, you go and you look at just the stats for the year. Yeah, he led the country in rushing yards this year. He had, let me pull it up, 1,659 rushing yards. He had 100 more yards than Ahmad Hardy.
Wow.
That's pretty good.
That's
And
impressive.
that guy was on the sidelines last night, and JSU still found a way to get the victory. So very cool moment for them, and congratulations all around. But for some of your other headlines around the college football world, how about a little bit of pettiness? And, well, okay, I say that not to say that this guy's not a good coach and doesn't deserve this opportunity. It just, the optics of it make it seem like it's kind of one of those petty, like, anyways, Ole Miss, if you missed the news yesterday, Ole Miss has announced that they are going to hire Frank Wilson to join Pete Golding's staff there in Oxford. If you're kind of scratching your head for a second going, okay, like I'm trying to piece the puzzle together here. Frank Wilson is the interim head coach at LSU. Well, he was the interim head coach at LSU before they hired Lane Kiffin. So he was the guy that led the Tigers when they played Alabama late in the season when they were here in Tuscaloosa. And so he coached at Ole Miss back in the 2000s. So now he's going back to join Pete Golding's staff. It's just, I'm sorry. It's funny that,
Yeah.
again, not saying he's not a good coach. He's not worthy of the job. It's just the whole Lane Kiffin thing. And now you go and hire and it's funny.
Pete locks him in a room and and just says, "Tell me everything you know."
Yeah, it's funny.
Tell me everything you know.
I think it's a good hire. Good for Frank Wilson landing on his feet after that whole situation. But you can't deny that it looks a certain kind of way.
Absolutely,
it's funny.
Absolutely. Like again, they play. It's the
I'm here for
Magnolia
it.
Bowl between Ole Miss and LSU when they play each other. But it's just now everything that they do is it's going to be heightened. But I do think that if you're Pete Golden, yeah, this is sort of a gamesmanship. It's all right. We'll see. We will decimate everything that you have over there. Like if you want a job at Ole Miss, come on. It's like Suge Knight and Diddy. Like if you don't want your coach all up in your social media, come to Ole Miss. I got you.
Paige and I actually watched that over the weekend, and it's
interesting, isn't it? It's very eye opening. One thing about 50 Cent, all time hater. He executive produced every single bit of it, and he made sure you knew from every single break exactly what charges are being discussed, what charges are pending. He didn't mind getting people FaceTime.
I was about to say, just a quick side note. I had heard that I guess there's a problem with, like, Diddy was trying to do his own documentary, and so something happened and he didn't end up paying the cameraman for his documentary, and so they then sold all that footage to 50 Cent, which he then used for his documentary against him.
All-time hater.
Hilarious. Just a hilarious situation. But nonetheless, back to football. But yeah, that's so funny.
All time. Like 50 Cent does not care.
It's incredible. Anyways, to some other college football headlines. Let's go to the transfer portal here for a minute. I'm sorry, that just is so funny. It's hard for me. Like, it's an awful situation, but the circumstances of how the actual documentary came to be, unbelievable stuff there. Just the best reality TV you could ever imagine. All right, but for transfer portal news, let's go because we've got Alabama and Auburn transfer portal news to get to from yesterday. So if you missed it, Alabama, they've already actually made an addition through the portal. So they come to an agreement yesterday with Oklahoma State tight end Josh Ford. If you go and look at his stat line, you're not going to be super impressed by it. But what I've heard and read from people that would know much better than I would, this is a guy, he's being brought in he's more of a blocking specialist than he is a receiving threat at tight end. But he is very, very good when it comes to being that extra blocker. And I mean, we've seen that for Alabama this year, right? A lot of times, like, that's what they needed is you need somebody that can essentially be that sixth offensive lineman for you. That's what Kalen DeBoer and Ryan Grubb in that offense, that's what they like to do. So it makes a lot of sense that they went out and got this guy. I was told that he chose Alabama over Oklahoma and Auburn amongst a couple of other schools. And again, they were going for him for his blocking expertise and what he can do kind of in that role on the offense. So a nice pickup there for Alabama. We'll see how that plays out, how he figures into things next year. But more depth at tight end, especially this year. You saw with all the injuries, that can certainly be a position of need for the Crimson Tide. Now, on the other side for Auburn, You do have another player that has announced he's going to enter the transfer portal, and this one, this one's going to hurt a little bit, I think, for a lot of people, and that is starting cornerback Jay Crawford. He announced yesterday that he intends to enter the transfer portal. He was a freshman All-American back in 2024. He started for Auburn this year. Really nice player, no doubt about it, and certainly somebody you would have liked to be able to retain there, I would think, in the secondary, but I guess he has his eyes on greener pastures somewhere, or whatever the situation may be for him. But I know that one's certainly going to sting a bit for Auburn fans because he's a nice player, no doubt about it.
Yeah, because you got to think going into this season, when you talked about some of the bright spots on the defense, his name was continuously brought up. Going into the season, he made some great plays. But yeah, that's going to be impactful. Like, he's going to be impactful, especially for a guy that's played under the DJ Durkin system for 2 years. He knows it like the back of his hand. And at times he was a lockdown corner. So I think that it's just the nature of where we are in college football and the calendar in which we see all these changes. But again, maybe he's looking at greener pastures, and hopefully he lands on his feet, lands at a good school. But that impact is going to be felt quickly.
Yeah, there's absolutely no doubt about it. So that's your Alabama and Auburn portal update now from yesterday. The latest news there. We'll, of course, bring it to you right here on JOX. So before we move on, though, because we do want to get to the college football playoff, I want to get some of Damien's final thoughts because he's not going to be here the next couple of days, kind of get his early predictions for those games coming up this weekend. I just have to mention this. We don't have to go deep into it. Do you see the Auburn phone plan that they are
I did.
They are launching the War Eagle Network.
Yeah, and I saw some jokes. They were perfectly landed.
Yes, I did see a lot of those, and it's the timing of it, and who is not there anymore, and why this would happen. But yeah, if you missed it yesterday, Auburn, they announced it's in partnership with T-Mobile, but they are essentially launching a War Eagle phone plan where every line, or I guess every person that signs up for the phone plan, part of their monthly bill will go towards NIL. I mean, it goes towards helping things at the university. It goes towards paying the athletes. We know exactly what this is about.
Gotta get innovative, man.
I was about to say, I'll give them credit. I did not ever think about this. However, I don't know how many people you're going to have switching over from, like, I don't know why you would do that.
I'm right there with you, brother.
It's an interesting idea. It sounds like one of those ideas that we're going to hear in like less than a year has gone away because nobody signed up for it. And I could be wrong. Like, please text us in. If you signed up for the Auburn phone plan, please text us in. I have so many questions for you, but I just thought it was a very, like,
it is interesting.
It is an interesting approach to, fundraising or whatever you want to call it. But
that's one way to say it.
I didn't have that one on my bingo card for 2025 as NIL.
I'm with you.
University phone plan.
I'm with you. I'm just as worried about the future success of that as well, because it just kind of seems you got to get your money by any means necessary at this point. If this is the route that you thought is going to be successful, and maybe there's a lot more people with business plans and business models that I've yet to be in rooms with, so maybe they know something that I don't know. But it does seem like this is going to be a challenge. But if you have a return on investment, hey, that means you're a lot smarter than I am.
I just like the idea of you being out in public somewhere and you're like, hey, man, you got any service out here? I don't have any bars. What do you have? Verizon? What do you have? I'm on the War Eagle Network. Well, you don't have any service. Shocker there. I don't know. Maybe it's perfectly fine. But, I mean, again, it's just – I'm sorry. Like, it's not an Auburn thing. It'd be the same thing if it's Alabama. Could you imagine I'm on the Roll Tide Network? Okay, oh, Lord. Like, they think that's when you have the can with the string attached to it down here in Alabama. They'd be like, oh, man, they really are living in the past down there. But
like, do I get players' numbers or something? Can I FaceTime?
You get to text Deuce Knight once before and after the game. I don't know. Again,
right, it just seems
I can't knock you for trying something new. It just doesn't seem like something that's going to, in my opinion, doesn't feel like this is going to be a big success. But what do I know? It could be, I don't know, maybe everyone will have their own SEC network or phone plan soon. I don't know, but certainly a funny bit of news there yesterday from Auburn as they're trying to get creative a little bit in the NIL space. But we want to continue on with the college football playoff conversation. What are some of our thoughts on these games going down this weekend? Of course, we'll talk Alabama, Oklahoma, and try to get some early score predictions out of Damian before he enjoys some time off for the holidays. So Alabama, Oklahoma, and more of our college football playoff preview next here on JOX. Appreciate all of you joining us here on Morning Jocks. Those of you chiming in on the courtesy GMC text line 205-834-9450. See, this one says, imagine a cashback credit card where your cashback was tied collective donations. Okay. See, this is coming off the heels of we were talking about the Auburn phone plan and how that is trying to, I guess, infuse some more money in the athletic department. Let's see. See, someone up here says, I'm up here in the mountains of North Carolina. You're going to have some long string on that moonshine can if that's going to talking about trying to communicate like in the olden days. But this is good to know. Someone says, I hear Don got the whole family planned for the Auburn War Eagle Network. So that would certainly be nice there. But we appreciate all of you chiming in each and every morning here, and we'll get back to your text and some of your calls here in a moment. But we do want to remind you that tonight you do have college football going on. You got 2 bowl games going on tonight. Quickly, you have, where did they go? My bowl games just disappeared. You have the Cure Bowl tonight, the Staff DNA Cure Bowl. That's going to be Old Dominion in South Florida, the former stomping grounds of new Auburn coach Alex Golish. That's going to be on at 4 o'clock today on ESPN. And then tonight you have the 68 Ventures Bowl, as that's going to be Louisiana and Delaware at 7:30 on ESPN. So those are your 2 bowl games that you have coming up tonight. But let's be honest, a lot of us are just counting down the days until the first round of the college football playoff, and that'll get underway Friday at 7 o'clock as Alabama and Oklahoma will do battle there. Then on Saturday morning at 11 a.m., you are going to get Miami at Texas A&M, maybe the most exciting, at least on paper, matchup of the first round. At 2:30 on Saturday, Tulane at Ole Miss, and then at 6:30 on Saturday night, James Madison at Oregon. So, Damian, you're not going to be here for the next 2 days. So I wanted to go through quickly and just get some of your final thoughts on these matchups. If you want to go ahead and give us a score prediction, you can. If you don't want to, that's fine as well. But let's just go through these really quick. I mean, I think we all kind of know how these are going to go, but anything that stands out to you between Oregon and James Madison or Ole Miss and Tulane that you're particularly looking for? I think we both expect those games to be pretty. Don't think they're going to be very close.
Yeah, the biggest thing for both Oregon and Ole Miss is don't come out the gate sloppy. Don't even. The best thing that you can do is show that you are the better team from the jump. Not to say that James Madison and Tulane won't have any tricks, but there needs to be a point in the ball game where it truly starts to separate. If you, especially for Ole Miss, if you're able to lean on the run game. We've seen lapses at times from Trinidad Chambliss, but we know what he can do when he's on. But I think the one thing that Tulane doesn't have an answer for is Keywan Lacey. All it takes is for one good carry to, from 3 yards to 4 yards, and then he busts, 24-yarder. How many times can you get that? Like, how many times can they start to just lay on? And again, you're dealing with a lot of outside noise. But the one thing that you can dig your cleats into the ground and know that you are one of 12 teams that are playing for a national championship. Make sure the main thing is the main thing. I think for Oregon, just don't come out sloppy. Don't sleepwalk through this James Madison unit because they're talented. Not to say that they're as talented as you are, but you want to eliminate all hope as quickly as you possibly can. And kind of start to show the committee that, listen, we understand the G5. They have talented players. They have talented coaches. But there is a separation between the teams that are, that got it and the teams that don't. But I do think that both Oregon and Ole Miss absolutely roll. And, again, no disrespect to John Summerall. It's time to start locking into Florida. Like, just go ahead and they'll send you on down the
We saw how this
quickly.
went 2 months ago.
Yeah.
And it wasn't
pretty.
It wasn't pretty. Okay, so Ole Miss, they're favored by 17.5. Oregon 21. You think they cover those, or
I know those are big numbers. Yes, I think they cover.
You think
both.
they cover those? I am there with you as well. So I don't think anybody's expecting big upsets. You can still, if you wanted to, you could actually go to the Oregon James Madison game for $80.
Okay, that's reasonable.
If you wanted to get in there. But yeah, I think a lot of us are expecting those 2 late games to be more of tune-ups for Ole Miss and Oregon than anything else. But who knows? Maybe there'll be a crazy upset. But I'm certainly not going to bank on it. All right, let's go Miami, Texas A&M here quickly. A&M is a 3-point favorite right now at home in this matchup, Damian. 50.5 points. It is an 11 a.m. kick, but okay, so this is a Texas A&M team, won 11 in a row. Then they have their worst performance is the only game they lost against Texas the final week of the season. But now we haven't seen them for a few weeks, right? They've gotten to rest. They've gotten to get healthy. They've gotten to just kind of, take a breather after a great regular season for them. Miami, didn't really maybe expect to be at this point, but they finally do get put in over Notre Dame. How do you see this one playing out? Do you think Texas A&M, are we going to see more of that team we saw for the first 90% of the season, or did we finally start to see some cracks against Texas, and you think that that's just going to carry over against Miami?
The one thing about this matchup is it comes down to the quarterback position for both, because Carson Beck has played a ton of football.
Mm-hmm.
He is an experienced veteran guy, and he's in a new situation as opposed to when he was at Georgia. But he's still, when he's on, and very similar to Marcel Reed. And I think that week to week, I've had my battles with Marcel Reed mentally. Of, you know what, when he clicks, yes, he's probably one of the better quarterbacks in the SEC, if not the country. But when he's off, like, it comes in waves. Like, it's just not one. It can't just be one play here or there. It becomes drives where he's inconsistent, and it's like, man, come on. But I do think the ultimate X factor in this game are the receivers that Texas A&M has. And I think Texas A&M defensively, they're built to make stops. And I think that what they did against South Carolina showed that, hey, they got some grit to them.
Mm-hmm.
And what happened to Texas? And I joke about it, but in all seriousness, sometimes even when you're growing up, when your dad has to discipline you, you end up being better because of it. That's how I look at Texas and Texas A&M. It's you were showing out for 11 weeks. Daddy had to get you right. Now get back into it and see what this discipline.
Yep.
See, you had to get disciplined real quick by Texas, and now I expect you to get back into the swing of things. And I do think Texas A&M wins an exciting matchup there in College Station. I think it'll be a close one, but I think Texas A&M is the better football team going into it, and I think they'll show it on Saturday morning.
All righty, so there you go. Damian likes Texas A&M to take down Miami there in the first round of the college football playoff, and now we have Alabama, their rematch against Oklahoma. The line I'm looking at right now says Alabama -1.5. I know it's kind of fluctuated a little bit here since the game. We found out what the matchup was going to be. I'll just give you this one stat real quick. I thought this was a wild stat. I saw this posted by Blake Byler, who works for On3 covering Alabama. I thought this was a really, really good stat. There's only one time in school history that Alabama football has lost to the same team twice in the same season. It happened 132 years ago in 1893. Alabama lost twice to the Birmingham Athletic Club. It was the second year ever of Alabama football.
Wow.
So it doesn't happen often, but it has technically happened before.
Yeah.
So that's just a little, again, doesn't mean anything for the game, but it just kind of goes to show how rare this opportunity is for Oklahoma. Do they make that happen, Damian, or do you think Alabama gets their revenge and for the first time under Kalen DeBoer, they get a victory against Oklahoma?
I look at this game, I think the rest that these two teams got, I think it hurts Oklahoma. I think if Oklahoma would have gotten into the college, if Oklahoma would have played Alabama right after they had played LSU, I would lean more Oklahoma. I think the rest was much needed for Alabama. Now, yeah, you had the last time we saw them on the field was the SEC championship against Georgia. Wasn't your best performance. But I think this reset that you have and understanding what's at stake gives a little bit of the edge where Oklahoma, it's crazy enough that you've already beaten them, but you have more of the pressure on you. You're at home. Yeah, you kind of – you're 2-0 against Kalen DeBoer so far.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that if they had kept the momentum going week to week and jumped back into it as soon as they got done with LSU in the last game of the season, I would feel a little bit more confident. But I think a little bit of the rest where Ryan Grubb's able to diagnose some things and really start to iron some stuff out, I think Alabama goes to Norman and gets a victory. I think it's a close one, and I think it's a little bit, I say higher scoring, but I think the over is going to be the play. I think Alabama wins 28-24.
Okay, all right. So, Damian, I've heard, I've heard a number of people that are confident about Alabama, but I think you're the first person I've heard say that they like the over, maybe a little more scoring in this game than the first matchup, which was a 23-21 win there for Oklahoma in Tuscaloosa. But there you go, Damian. He likes Alabama and Texas A&M in close ones, Ole Miss and Oregon to win handily in the first round of the college football playoff. I'll give you my picks coming up on Friday, of course, as we get ready for the actual games to go down. But a lot of you getting in your thoughts on the Courtesy GMC text line as well as the phone lines, and that's where we will go next here on the Wednesday morning edition of Morning JOX. Welcome back into Morning Jocks. Connor and Damien here with you for a couple more minutes. Then we'll hand you off to McElroy and Kublik in the morning. Let's go to the phone lines where our buddy Scoops has been waiting by patiently this morning. How we doing, Scoops?
We're doing great, guys. How are you?
Doing fantastic. What's on your mind this morning, buddy?
I'm going to make it quick in case someone else is on hold. In this new era of college football, we've seen just a dying breed, I would say, over a short amount of time, even just dating back to the death of the BCS. The college football playoff, even with its induction, it wasn't enough. Then we went to 12. Now they're talking about more. I don't know when enough is enough, but you're always going to have those first four out. And that's kind of my first question. But the main point of this phone call is there's so much money involved with college football, the meaning of conference titles as well. I'm trying to figure out with you guys, it just seems like all that is in jeopardy. And, y'all talked about it. Other shows have talked about it. Sports World has talked about it. But dealing with bowl games, how much of a percentage do you guys think that there's a possibility of, I guess, the viewing public losing? And is it something where they keep the premier ones? Or I don't know, guys. It's a crazy situation in sports because the integrity of the game is basically the NFL minor league now. It is what it is. College football is not what it was. That's all I got.
Yeah, no, great call this morning. Appreciate you there, Scoobs. I will just say I do think, the reality is the interest in a lot of these games is dwindling, and I go back. I think I heard Pat Landrum talking about it on Three Man Front the other day. But you go back over the weekend, like you had a pretty decent bowl game. You had Boise State and Washington. Like that's a solid matchup. Nobody went to the game. Like they said there were 25,000 people. There weren't 25,000 people there.
No,
there weren't. You know how many people I talked to that didn't even know that bowl game was going? Like, that's a solid bowl game. And I get, like, it's not, one of the premier ones like Scoob was talking about, but that's a solid bowl matchup. Nobody was talking about it. Nobody knew it was going on. It's sad to see. But, yeah, I think as we move along, right, you're going to see fewer and fewer of these games. Like, they're just not going to be quite as sustainable, unfortunately. But that's just kind of the way that it goes now. Let's go to the text line quickly. As someone wanted to text in some of their predictions for the weekend. They say Alabama wins 27-13, Oregon wins 45-6, Ole Miss wins 31-7, and Texas A&M wins 27-24. Remember, tonight you've got college basketball in the SEC. Alabama, South Florida, 7 o'clock on the SEC Network. Plus, that does it for us. We're back tomorrow at 6 a.m. Mac and Cube is next.